What's up, Dragon Nation? I'm Rich with Dragon Nation Gaming. Welcome back to Space Engineers. Last episode we were working on the base of the space tether. Today what we want to do is we need a production facility. We have all the stone behind us, but I want to dig down so that way we could build a refinery system, production facility right below the surface. So we need to dig down a little bit, which we're going to be building a driller for it. So I already made this video, but we had a few issues. One of the issues was I made a few mistakes in the video that I would like to correct. The other issue is the video was deleted. So there was a song in the video for the time lapse, and I got an email from YouTube saying that was copyrighted material and that I received a strike, and the video was deleted. So we're going to make it again, only we're going to add something to it. What we're doing in this episode is I'm going to record this while I'm live streaming. We're going to render the video, we're going to upload it all in the live stream. This should be interesting. I'm already laughing my ass off, but let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, so like I said, this episode is going to be a little bit different. We're actually live streaming right now for about 16 people. Not a whole lot, but it is kind of late at night. It's like 11 o'clock my time. So a few things that we need to go over. One, pistons. So in the video that actually got deleted, I said that the minimum distance was 0.1. Not true. The actual lowest speed that you can go with the piston and actually tell that it's actually moving is 0.001. Now, if we look at the piston and we look at the horizon, as you can see, oh, if I could get to a spot where we can, Space Engineers, work with me. So if we get to the spot, you can see that the piston is slightly moving. So that is the slowest speed to where you can actually tell that it is moving. If we come back in about an hour, that's probably will be up to about here. But usually what I do is there used to be a bug that caused a little bit of issues with pistons moving that slowly. If you were trying to move that piston at a very low speed against an object, like if you were trying to drill down a hole or drill into the side of a mountain, it would actually stop the piston from moving. Kind of like the piston didn't have enough power because it was going too slow. So just for, yeah, you can actually see that's moving now. Just for my reference, what I do is I make my minimum distance 0.1 for all my builds. That way it's just a little bit easier for me to keep track of my pistons and it doesn't get too confusing, because I'm kind of a dumb guy and I get confused easily. So yeah, a lot of people are saying that the pistons can go a little bit slower, but with Space Engineers sometimes you have that bug. It might have been fixed, I don't know, I haven't tested it out in a while, but might be something I test out at some point. Not now. This time what I want to do is I try to do things as safely as possible. Whenever you do your builds, it's best to always try to err on the side of caution. That's why I go ahead and use the timers, so that way that the pistons are not continuously moving. It sometimes does create an issue, but it's something you can bypass if you get creative. So I use timers just to make sure that it's safe enough. Is it necessary? Probably not. But that way I can make sure that the whole thing works and it works properly and nothing gets destroyed. Because I hate when my stuff destroys and I have to rebuild it. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is I need to make sure that we have enough room for the drill rig. what we need to do is figure out the height of the piston. If I remember correctly, a piston is 3 blocks long when it's fully retracted. I already have a piston in my toolbar. Awesome. Let's turn off symmetry for the moment. Or not a piston, but a drill. My bad. So a piston, when fully retracted, is 2 blocks. A drill is 3. So what we're going to need is we're also going to need a rotor, which is 1 block. So we need 2 pistons, so 2 blocks for one piston, 2 blocks for another. 3 for the drill, and then 1 for the rotor. So what we're going to do is the drill, we need to make sure that there's enough space in between the ground and where the drills are going to start, so that way they don't get bunched up before we even move the thing and they're not merged into the ground. So what we want to do is we want to find the lowest spot, which I think is right here. Yep, looks like it. So we'll go 3 high for the drills, 2 high for the first piston, 2 high for the second, and then 1 for the rotor, and this is where we'll put the conveyor junction. So one of the first issues people had was I was using conveyor junctions too much. Someone actually let me know in the comments that conveyor junctions, the reason they cause lag is it's an inaccessible inventory, and the reason they cause lag is because the conveyor junction has to calculate all the stuff that's in it. Which kind of makes sense. I don't know if that's true, but that's actually a pretty good idea to try to test out. It might be true. I have no idea. I don't even know how to test that out. But anyways. So the thing is we could do this if we just have 1 pillar. But for the build that we're using, I actually want all 4 pillars for the space tether. The reason for that is at some point, we're going to have conveyors. I need to go up 8. Is it 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Let's turn on symmetry. And then 8. And then 8 over here. So yeah, the reason I want the 4 pillars is we're going to have rings at every 800 meters for turrets. We're also going to have components that are going to be coming down one side, and no, they're going to be going up one side, and the ores and ingots are going to be coming down another. I haven't really figured that out yet, but I do want the 4 pillars. That's why we're going to go ahead and create the 4 pillars right now, because at some point I will be actually building those. Now we got our conveyor junctions. We need to bring a conveyor towards the middle. Like that. And then the other side as well. Now what we need is a conveyor junction in the middle. And there we go. Now we're ready to get the rotors, the pistons, and the drills. So I have a couple of different options for me when I put down the rotors. Now what we need is an advanced rotor. I could put a rotor at the top, but I want to try to keep the weight on the rotor as low as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the pistons first. So we need to go ahead and turn that over. Like I said, we're going to have 2 of those. And then below that, we're going to have the rotor. Now what we need to do is put in the drills. So we're going to have the first drill, which is going to be the center. So one issue that someone had in the comments was they said that I could do 1 arm like that, which I can't really. I'll show you why here in a second. But what we want to do is we don't want to be right up against the other blocks, because then it will cause some issues. So we'll back it up just 1. So you can't really see it right now, but when this thing was as long as the other driller, I think it was like 21 drills long, this arm was extremely heavy. And what it would do is it would cause the entire arm to sag if I only had 1. So what you want to try to do is keep the center of mass towards the center of the blades or the arms. So on the other side, we're going to go ahead and put the drills, the same amount. Back it up one. There we go. So another comment somebody made was I could just do it with the 2 arms. And they're right. I probably could. It probably would work with just the 2 arms, but the thing is I want this to dig as fast as possible. I need to get rid of this block, or it's gonna bunch up on the drills. I could do it with 2 arms, but having more drills will allow this thing to dig faster. Also, with the inventory, we do need to pull all the stone out of the drills, and we need to make sure that the sorter that we're using, which we don't absolutely need, I just like using sorters for the hell of it. We need to make sure that that thing does have enough time to pull all the stone out of the drills. So that's why we're going to go ahead and do 4. And 1 on the other side. So the next thing we need to do is we need to set up the pistons and the rotors. First, I'm going to go ahead and save, just to make sure. Come on, save. There you go. Alright, so like someone said, I could actually set those pistons to go a little bit slower than 0.1. We're going to test that out, just for the hell of it. But we have to figure out what speed is going to be good enough. That one I do have to figure out. Alright, so asking the people in the chat of the live stream. Some people said, one person said 0.06, that was Colonel Onami, whatever. Then we had Argo who said 0.04. Alfred Dumas said 0.01. And Caden Capse said 0.075. Well, it looks like on an average we have 0.05. So I think we're going to go ahead and try that. So first thing I want to do is we're going to go ahead and take the pistons. We're going to shut them off first. Oh yeah. I don't have 3 pistons. I'm only using 2. There we go. Much better. Alright, so we're going to take those pistons and we're going to shut those down. Off. Now what we're going to do is make sure that they're turned off. I also need to go ahead and set those pistons up in a group. So piston. And yeah, I think that's good enough. We'll just save that one. Now that they're off, we can go ahead and set the velocity, and we're going to set it for 0.05. Okay. So max distance, everything else is going to be the same. We're not going to worry about the impulse. We shouldn't have too much trouble with that. Now what we need to do is, and of course the rotor's not going to show up. So let me go ahead and close out the menu, go back in, and now it should show up. Yep, there it is. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and turn the torque, especially when we're going really fast. There is a little bit of weight on the rotor, so turning up the torque will allow it to spin. Braking torque, so that way I can stop it if I need to. It doesn't need to be too high. And then what we need to do is we need to figure out the speed. Lower limit, upper limit, doesn't matter. The velocity of the rotors is in RPMs. That means rounds per minute. So what that means, if I set the rotor to a speed of 1, it would take 1 minute from this drill to come from this pillar all the way around back to this pillar. That would take 1 minute. So that might actually be a pretty good speed, but that's something we'll have to check that out and see. All right, so in the live stream comments, we're going over with a couple of people, so you can blame them if it doesn't work. Some people are saying 5, some 4, another person saying 5. Revolution per minute, not, yeah, rounds per minute. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, Argo's correcting me. But anyway, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do Let's do 5. So let's go ahead and go to the control panel. Let's find the rotor. We'll set the rotation speed for 5 per minute. Is it revolutions or rounds? Anyways, it doesn't really matter. Alright, so 5. And of course I'm going to need power. Since we are in creative, we don't have to worry about ingots, so we can go ahead and put down a reactor. So what we need to do now is we need to go ahead and wait for that rotor or the drills to catch up to the rotor, because as you can see, it does stall a little bit. So yeah, we'll go ahead and wait for that. It'll take a couple minutes, and then we'll see how this is going to work out. Alright, so one thing I did forget is we need to go ahead and go into the pistons and the rotors and set up some inertia dampeners. So pistons, is it going to let me go into the rotor? Yes, it is. Alright, inertia dampeners. There we go. So 5, I don't know. We'll see. It should be okay. What we're trying to do is the drills do take a little bit of time to dig. So what we need to make sure is that those drills do spend enough time trying to dig out the stone that they're not just going to completely miss it. But we might as well go ahead and try it out just for the hell of it. So let's go ahead and save real quick. Now all we need to do is go ahead and turn on the pistons and see what happens. So piston, I did, if I can spell correctly. Let's set that up in a group. So 1, 2, 3. And let's see what happens and see if the speeds were correct. And I forgot to turn on the damn drills. Hold on. We got it. Drill, drill, drill. On. And now it's about to get loud. Okay, I think... I don't know, it's starting to jiggle just a little bit. I think... Yeah, it might be the rotor is not going... I think the pistons are still too fast. So I think what we need to do is we need to go ahead and slow those pistons down even more. Alright, so we set the pistons for 0.01. Let's see how that does. And to be honest, I think the rotor is going just a little too fast. Alright, so we dropped the speed of the rotors to half the speed it was at. We slowed down the pistons. Now let's see if that works out. So that's pretty much all you got to do. You just got to find the right speeds. Oh, and it also looks like I missed some blocks as well. So let me go ahead and try to get those. Alright, it looks like I got them all. Nope, I didn't. Hold on. Alright, there we go. So yeah, we're still having a little bit of an issue. So what I think is going on, the rotor is not moving too fast. We're still moving too fast with the pistons. So I need to slow those down. Alright, so now the pistons are at 0.05. Maybe I do need to slow the rotors down. Yeah, I think the problem that's going on is the rotor is turning too fast, so it's not giving the drills an opportunity to drill down the stone. So yeah, we are going to need to turn that down. Okay, now I turn down the rotor to 1. And no, the pistons are still going down too fast. Yep. And see, that's the issue that you have when you're trying to extend the pistons when the stone isn't completely drilled out. It will cause some issues, but it looks like we're starting to find that speed. I mean, it is starting to bunch up just a little bit. So it can be done, it's just a matter of finding the right speeds, which could be kind of a bitch. But yeah, so what we'll do is, obviously this is not going to work. It's causing a little bit of clang. I'm actually surprised the thing hasn't blown up by now. I'm really surprised by that. But as you can see, it is still jiggling it is still causing some issues. So what I want to do is I want to show the difference between doing it this way and doing it my way. Alright, so some people in the comments of the live stream let me know that I might have changed the speed to 0.05 instead of 0.005. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to check when I'm editing the video. But that's not important. What's important is the whole thing. If you're trying to do it continuously without timers, you have to find that perfect speed. You have to figure out how fast the drills are going to dig down into the stone. You have to figure out how fast you need to spin the rotor, and you also need to figure out how fast you want those pistons to extend. For those of us who are kind of dumb, we don't have that kind of patience or that kind of time to figure it out. So, like I always try to say, err on the side of caution. If you think it might be too difficult for you to figure out, or you're having trouble with it, just go ahead and build something that is easier for you to understand. What's easier for me to understand is just putting in 2 damn timers. And then a reactor for power, of course. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to do it this way. I'm not going to say it's the right way, because obviously with a little bit of thinking, you could probably find another way of doing it. I'm just going to say this is my way. This is safer for me, and that's just all there is to it. I don't want to argue about it. It makes it a lot easier for me. So what we want to do is I'm going to set the rotor up, and we are going to set the velocity at 1/4 turn per minute, so 0.25. Now, as we said, if I set that to one rotation, if one of the drills went from this pillar all the way around, that would be 1 round per minute. We only want to do 1/4 of that because I only need the drills to go from this pillar to this pillar and then go down again. Now, the pistons, we want to go ahead and set up at a lower speed. We'll go ahead and set those for 0.1. Now, like I said earlier, the pistons do go slower, but this is my minimum speed. This is what I like to put all my pistons at. It just makes it easier for me to keep track of them. And all we need to do now is turn those pistons on and they will extend. So now we need to set up the timers. So if we grab timer number 1, what we need to do is we need to set this up in a loop. At some point I will do a tutorial on how to set up timers. A couple of people have asked me. They asked me a long time ago, and I just never got around to it. But what we need to do is, since it does a quarter turn every minute because of the speed of the rotor, we're going to set this to 60 seconds. So every tick, let's go ahead. If I just put a 1 there, that would be 1 second. We need 1 minute, so that's 60. And then what we need to do is we need to go ahead and set up the actions. We'll go to the groups. All we're going to do is have, after a minute, it will toggle those pistons on. Then what we need to do is we need to find timer number 2 and start. Now for timer number 2, I want those pistons to extend for about 5 seconds. I think 5 seconds should be good. So we'll go ahead and say 5. Set up actions, and what I want that to do is I want that to turn those pistons off. And then I'll go back through just to make sure. So now what we need to do, like I said, we need to set it up in a loop. So now it needs to go back to timer block number 1 and then start. So let's go ahead and double check, make sure I did everything correctly. Set up actions, pistons, actually, just to make sure, toggle block on. So yeah, what the timers are going to do is we're going to start timer number 1. It's going to do a tick for 1 minute. You should see the lights on here turn blue. I think it's blue. Maybe it's purple. I'm not sure. But yeah, you'll see those lights turn blue and they'll blink. That's to let you know that is the timer that is working right now. So after a minute, it will activate timer number 2 and it will turn those pistons on, extending the pistons. So now that timer number 2 has started, it will wait for 5 seconds and it will turn those pistons on and also start timer number 1. So then it will go through the cycle again. So all we need to do is start timer number 1. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So timer start. Okay, so it's turquoise and blue. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, it is blinking. Now, in the video that I made that long time ago, a lot of people commented that they did like the montage. It was kind of oddly satisfying. So we're going to go ahead and do that again. I'm going to put some music. This video is going to be demonetized, but I don't give a shit. If it's entertaining, who gives a damn? So this is going to take about 10-15 minutes. So let's go ahead and get it started.
Different life.